What is going on, everybody? My name is Nico. Welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC Moveset guide. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite new Hisuian Pokemon, Basculgeion. This Pokemon is so sick. I think it's so cool, the lore behind it, but also I think it actually has a chance to be fairly decent competitively, and I want to talk about that here today. So if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subbed for more videos like this in the future, and leave a comment below which version of Basculgeion is your favorite. But let's get into it. So before we get into the actual moveset and talking about potential EV spreads and all that fun stuff, we have to address the elephant in the room. Both versions of these Pokemon are not created equal. It is a bit frustrating, to be 100% honest with you. So Basculgeion, the male version, the red one, has 112 attack and 120 HP. Special attacks quite low. Defense is mediocre, and special defense also fairly mediocre with an all right speed stat, right? And then you go to the female version where the attack is actually lowered and you're looking at 100 special attack, so it doesn't even match the attack stat. I don't really know what's going on here with this particular setup. I really don't. Like, they made it worse, but they didn't even make it as good of a special attacker. The reason it's worse mainly is because, like, water type special attackers aren't that crazy, right? You have access to, like, Surf, Hydro Pump, and stuff that just doesn't work fantastically in VGC that you don't want to rely on in VGC. So for that reason, unfortunately, the female Basculgeion just isn't quite as good. Also, you lose the extra damage you would get on Last Respects, which is kind of like the bread and butter of this Pokemon, right? This Pokemon is going to play very similarly to how we played Houndstone, and it's just going to be very, very solid for that reason. So unfortunately, I think there is a world where you use Basculgeion F, maybe on like a cheeky like Gastrodon or something team that absorbs the water and just puts out damage. But unfortunately, I don't think it's just as good on any given water team as just straight normal male Basculgeion would be. So just something to note before we got any further into this. So Basculgeion male, I think, is actually fairly decent. I think we can actually use this and have a pretty good time with it. So what I got here is a Life Orb, Swift Swim, Grass Terra type to, tear away from your damage. Mainly you're going to be playing this on Rain anyways because of Swift Swim. There is Adaptability, which is cool, and Mold Breaker, but I think that this just makes more sense to get out there and basically play it like Houndstone, and how Houndstone was faster in the sand, you're faster in the rain with this. I think that being able to get out there with Last Respects, have Swift Swim, and just start doing crazy amounts of damage very quickly is very solid. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, it's got a fairly mid speed tier. If you think about Pokemon that have been using Swift Swim effectively currently, we have things like Dreadnought that are absolutely tearing it up, right? So there's a lot of Pokemon currently that have mid. I think Dreadnought's actually a base 75 speed, so this is 3 points higher, so you'll be able to handle yourself fairly effectively under the Swift Swim ability and Rain. I think it's gonna be very solid for this Pokemon. So then we want to be Jolly here. And that actually allows us to outspeed Regieleki. So you're perfect. That's all you needed to know right there. Regieleki, let's see, 50. And then you go down here and you max that out and you give it a timid nature. Yeah, you're outspeeding Regieleki by 9 points, right? So you're golden. That's what's important. You're outspeeding the Regieleki. So because of this beautiful little factor here, this Pokemon's really solid. It's really good. So we have Last Respects, Liquidation, Aqua Jet here. It's for your stabs, your bonus goodies. And then you're going to be Swift Swimming all over the place, doing tons of damage. Life Orb to boost that extra damage that you're going to be doing. This is your game closer Pokemon, right? It's your game closer. So honestly, what are we looking at here? I would say that you could probably do something like this. Something like that. Give it a little bit of that. Go up on this. Maybe something like that. And then 4. And then there. Something like that. Do a spread kind of like that. You're not going to be taking a lot of hits. The objective is to just be faster than everything and put out a bunch of damage. I think that this is going to be fairly solid. Maybe a little bulkier set so you can get more than one of your Last Respects off. Maybe lower this a touch, bring up your HP a little more. Something like that, perhaps. But again, you want the speed for the Swift Swim to outspeed things under the rain. So things like Regieleki. You don't outspeed bundles, but like that's the only other thing you have to worry about. So yeah, just you want to be able to outspeed and just do lots of damage. You have your Liquidation and Aqua Jet that'll do more damage in the rain. So definitely stuff that is really solid. Now, we have to talk about stuff that this pairs well with. So first up, immediately you're probably thinking, oh, it's a rain Pokemon. It's Swift Swim. It's Pelipper. No longer do you have to worry about using Pelipper on rain teams. We don't have to do that anymore. Pelipper's a mid-tier Pokemon. It has been for a long time. What we have access to now is actually much gooder. It is Tornadus. We have access to Thundurus. Both of these have access to Prankster. Not only do they have access to Prankster, they also have access to Rain Dance. Both of them. So pick your poison. Do you want a bulkier like Eerie Impulse Setter, you know, Taunter, or do you want something that sits on the field, doesn't take a lot of hits, but can dish out some of its own damage with like Hurricane? Take your pick. I personally, I think that having access to something like Thundurus is really nice, because then you can do like Thunder. Or honestly, either or looks really solid. I'm gonna be honest, these two Pokemon love Basculegion because they set the rain with their Prankster and they just start rolling. They let you go, my friend, go do your damage. So Basculegion loves these two Pokemon. But other Pokemon that like are going to pair nicely with this, anything that likes taking grass type attacks. So I think like Hisuian Goodra could actually be pretty solid as like just an extra Pokemon on the team, because it gets Sap Sipper and it's just incredibly bulky, right? So Hisuian, come on, Hisuian Goodra could be really good as just like a switch in Pokemon, right? And a lot of them are like Terrain Water. It's going to be very good to Terra Water because it gets access to Hydro Pump. So playing it on a rain team and like not having to worry about a lot of stuff is really, really solid. I do also think there is a world where you want a ground type Pokemon, because you are playing a lot of these water type. You're playing in the rain. So having access to a ground type Pokemon that can eat up that hit is going to be very nice. So I think something like Lando could be really solid. Lando Therian could be solid on a team like that. So definitely a handful of different Pokemon that would play very well. But again, in terms of like your rain setter, the Pokemon that you're thinking I need the rain with, I definitely think that Tornadus or Thundurus is going to be your play. Now, you can consider the fact that Tornadus has access to both Tailwind as well as access to Rain Dance. So you can use both. You can think of it that way. Be like, oh, you know, if I need the Tailwind, I have the option to Tailwind. So just something to consider in that regard. If you really are like, I don't think that I can outspeed because maybe they have a Tailwind option, maybe they're running Tornadus and I need to match it, there is that option there for you. Over like Thundurus does not get access to that, so it's just something to consider. You do not get Tailwind on this Pokemon, unfortunately. That would be absolutely nuts. So yeah, that's just something to consider. This is mainly like your Focus Sash guy here, and this is like your Citrus Berry guy. Maybe I'll do a video covering the genies specifically, because they're very good and you're going to use them on a lot of different teams. But yeah, so I think in terms of partners, stuff like this really makes sense for Basculegion. Yeah, I think that Goodra could be really solid. Landorus, obviously, being able to switch into electric type attacks. Obviously, you are Terra Grass on this, but if you don't have to Terra and can rotate, that would be very solid as well. Tornadus and Thundurus for like your rain setters. Very, very nice. Now, Pokemon that don't like seeing the Basculegion, obviously Fluttermane is not going to like it if this is like the endgame sweeper and like they have Fluttermane left. This Pokemon just runs through you, right? It's just, that's how it's going to be. Fluttermane just gets absolutely bodied. Then we have things that just, you know, don't take the water type or the last respects all that well in general. Pretty much anything that's not a normal type is not going to take the last respects all that well. So that's just something to be aware of. Again, with the EV spread, you could like, it's gonna have to be something that you kind of work around, because if you want to maximize your damage, you're kind of just gonna have to go squishy and hope you can take the hit. It's just something that I'm gonna have to test a lot more in terms of calking. But definitely, I think that like anything that doesn't like taking a ghost type attack is not going to enjoy this. So I'm trying to think of other Pokemon that have popped up. It's very difficult because they added 1,000 Pokemon. Obviously Goldango doesn't like it. Let's see. But also, like, you have to consider that there are like water type moves that are going to do a decent amount of damage in the rain on this Pokemon. So like Arcanine, because we still don't have Incineroar, Arcanine is going to get hit very hard by Basculegeion in the end game. What other Pokemon? You do have priority Aqua Jet, so like stuff with sashes like Chenpao that are still going to be popping up. Not going to like that very much. I still think Ting-Lu has a place in this meta, so Ting-Lu I definitely think won't like this Pokemon because, you know, you can hit it very hard with a Liquidation in the rain. It's going to do a lot of damage. But yeah, I think that like Ting-Lu still has a place because it just lowers the special attack naturally, so I still think it's going to be a very good Pokemon. But it is something that I think is going to pop up a lot less because it's fighting for that spot with stuff like Ursaluna. So definitely something to consider in that regard. Speaking of Ursaluna obviously isn't going to like, as long as it's like Terra Ground or it hasn't Terra'd at all, it's not going to like taking a hit from this. In the rain, it's boosted, it's super effective. You're going to have issues taking hits from this particular Pokemon. And if it does Terra Ground, you can just hit it with Last Respects, right? So there's a couple different options for dealing with Ursaluna with this particular Pokemon. A lot of stuff just really don't like it, but there are some things currently that, you know, we don't like seeing on Basculegeion. First off, we have to address Regieleki. If you don't have your rain up, Regieleki just rocks you, right? Regieleki tears you limb from limb. Same deal with Bundle. Bundle's a little bit more worrying because Bundle still outspeeds you with the rain up, right? So it just freeze dries you. And you do have to be very cautious of that because you have a mediocre at best special defense stat, which is why I've invested a little more heavily into the HP category. So Bundle just kind of rocks you. So you have to be very, very cautious of Bundle in the end game with this particular Pokemon. And for that reason, I think that might be like a good reason to have like Thundurus over Tornadus, because you're able to like run a Terra Electric and like Thunderbolt on it, and like that'll rock a Bundle very easily, or like even Thunder because you're playing in the rain, that'll rock Bundle very, very easily and allow you to kind of clean up, right? So I think that there's an argument to be made for Thundurus over Tornadus. It's just something that you have to consider. But yeah, Bundle really just like is a pain for a lot of Pokemon that are rotating in, and that is no different for Basculegeion. Fluttermane can be a problem if your rain is not up. This Pokemon is very rain dependent. If your rain is not set, Fluttermane can be very problematic because obviously you are a ghost type. Getting hit by a Shadow Ball is not going to be any fun for this particular Pokemon, so that is something that you have to be aware of as well. Opposing Thundurus can actually be a problem because of the fact that they have Prankster. They're able to T-Wave you and slow you down and then just hit you with like Thunderbolts and stuff like that. That is something that you need to be aware of going into a matchup. Like Basculegeion is very fast, yes, but this has Prankster T-Waves, so you need to be cautious of that. So those are my thoughts on Basculegeion. I think that this Pokemon is going to be really fun, especially like in the early meta to just kind of goof around with. That's the thing right now is like it's so early and everybody's playing with the new toys that I think a lot of these Pokemon that may not be, you know, super great toward later parts of the season will be good now because you're able to like, nobody really knows what's going on. Everybody's testing stuff, so you're able to actually sneak out some wins with some Pokemon that may not be as good as we think they are. So I definitely think that Basculegeion, while is good, I think Basculegeion definitely has a role. I don't know how good it'll be the further we get into the series, unlike like something like Ursaluna that's just going to be very good. I think Basculegeion has the potential, but I'll be curious to see how the meta develops and what we actually come up with. But I think that this Pokemon is super fun, and I'm just so excited that we finally get to use it. It's just a very exciting Pokemon. I absolutely love it. So if that is it for this video, hope you all enjoyed. If you did at any point, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Also be sure to check out the Discord. People over there hanging out, playing Pokemon all the time. And if you're interested in seeing anything else from me, check out any of these videos that you see here on screen. But until next time, peace.